All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll get started with questions for Coach Leonhard. We'll start with Jeff Petrikis.
Jim, I think Mason's the only one who had to get up early today. So obviously your outside linebackers last year, you saw some things from Nick Herbig. You know what you can get with Noah Burks. I'm just curious, what's the next step for both of those two guys this year? And also some of the young guys who maybe got a taste last year, what do they need to do to make that unit more productive overall?
I think obviously what you want to see out of that group is production, right? It's always been a very, very high production position in this defense. And obviously we weren't going into last year going, you have to replace Zach Bond, anybody, right? That was really impressive what he's done. And even you go back the years of the names that have went through that room. So we knew who we had, and I think those guys played well. And there's a lot of things that looking at the tape, they know they can improve on, and we're going to ask more out of them. And we're going to continue to develop the rest of the guys behind them to push and earn reps and find ways to be disruptive for our defense.
Jesse.
Jim, I think some people assume that if you were going to leave Madison, it would be for something like the Packers D coordinator job. Why stay in Madison, and what do you want for your long-term future in coaching at this point?
First off, I think there's a nice little saying about assumptions that people always forget. And I think a lot of people have ideas of what my career is going to be and what they want it to be. And, you know, the beauty of it being my career is that nobody really needs to know or care. I've said it a lot of times. I love Madison. You know, to me, there's some unfinished business with the University of Wisconsin. You know, I love this group of kids and want to continue to develop them. And, you know, with COVID being the way it was last year, I'd have felt a specific way about myself having left after that season. But I'm excited about being in Madison, and I think we got a great opportunity this coming season.
Steve.
Just in that regard, was the decision to stay, was it tough? You've been talked about as a candidate for places in previous years. Was the decision any tougher this past off season than it had been maybe in previous off seasons because of what the opportunity was?
Yeah, obviously it's a huge opportunity. Very humbled to be in the conversation for that position. You know, it's a organization, obviously being from the state, know a lot about and have a tremendous amount of respect for the way that organization operates. And, you know, they're right on the fringe of a Super Bowl, and they have been for a while now. So definitely a difficult decision to have to make.
Jesse.
Jim, which young players do you expect are ready to step into some bigger roles this season? I know it's early in camp, but just from how you're projecting at all three levels, really, the D-line, the linebacker spots behind some of those veterans, inside and out, and also in the secondary.
I think first off, starting with the D-line, you know, you really have Keanu Benton, and we lost Henningsen for the majority of the season last year. So behind that, there really hasn't been a lot of reps. You know, Bryson Williams has played at times and played well for us. And, you know, Isaiah Mullins has played some for us, but outside of that, there really is not a lot of experience. So spring's going to be huge. You know, I think Coach Chris hit with our team the other day. There's like 44% of our team has never went through spring ball, you know, so from a development and an experience standpoint, this spring is going to be huge to see kind of who starts to separate with injuries and different things throughout last year. The number of these guys kind of got bumped into that too deep where they were preparing to play. They just didn't end up getting a lot of game reps because there weren't very many last season. So I think that whole group, there's a lot to be learned. You know, obviously with Coach K coming in and having the change at the position level there, and just going to continue to push and see what we can get guys comfortable with, and whether it's technique and scheme, and come out of the spring, I think, with a much better picture of who that group is, what the depth is going to be, and what we can ask them to do.
Jake.
I guess there's many other positions that we were going to talk about too. So I got cut off here. Long pause.
Sorry, please continue.
Outside backer, right? You talked about Noah. We know the consistency that he's played with, and Nick Herbig kind of took a tremendous amount of reps for us last season for a true freshman. We know how we want them to progress going through. Some other names, you look at Spencer Lytle, where he's at with his progression. It's really time this spring for him to push for more opportunities. CJ Getz had a decent amount of snaps for us last year. Aaron Witt came on as the season progressed, another true freshman that you see work in the right direction. I think right now that group, and there's going to be a number of young guys, TJ Bowler's here this spring, they're just going to benefit from really their first opportunity in the spring to get on the field. And, we like certain aspects of the skill set of that group of what we have. Isaiah Green May, another name. I don't have a roster in front of me, so just bouncing through names as they come through my head. Obviously he's played a decent amount of snaps for us in the past before the injury, a couple injuries. So we like the depth we have. We like the very variation in the skill set and the issues that group can provide. It's going to just continue to push them to be that impactful playmaker week in and week out. Inside backer, we obviously know about Sanborn and Leo, and they were kind of the workhorses last year and took the majority of the reps. And behind them, a number of guys that you're excited to develop and push and see how it plays out this spring. With Jordan Turner, Muma, Malik Reed, Jake Chaney, Tatum Grass, Mike Mascalunas obviously is around. There's most of that group kind of fits in the same category of going, all right, who's going to separate and who's going to really take leadership and ownership of the position. And we liked some of the things that we've seen. And so we haven't had to get past Leo and Jack very often because of the way they've been able to play. And we know we want to continue to develop that group, and we have a lot of talent in those rooms, and we really want to see how the spring plays out for them. On the back end, there's not many new faces. Obviously, we have a ton of depth and returning experience in that group, and just asking them to continue to develop as playmakers. We've played great defense. We wouldn't be able to do what we do on third down if they're not playing well. Right. So now it's continuing to push them to find opportunities to make plays on the football, create turnovers. And I'm not afraid to play guys. And we have a lot of depth. There's a number of players that were ready to play. We saw it in the Wake Forest game. I think there was 8 corners that played in that game, and they all played well. Right. Not to say that we didn't give up yards, but we played well. They had opportunities down the field. And I'm really excited for the corner group to just come out here and continue to battle. Bringing in Coach Poteet, it's just more and more attention given to a position that is very technical, right? So that group, I'm excited for their growth coming up this spring, and even seeing this winter, just with having more attention being able to be given to them, not having to split time with the corners and safeties as much as far as coaching points and techniques and all that type of stuff. So that group, I think, is going to benefit tremendously from having Coach Poteet and love what he's brought to the table so far. The safety group, you got Colin and Scott, who've played a lot of reps for us. I thought Scott had a really, really good year. Was very pleased with what he was able to do last year. And we lose Eric Burrell, who's been a consistent playmaker for us over the years, and a number of guys behind them that I think can compete to earn more reps and get in the rotation with Trey Blaylock, Titus Toller, John Torchio, Tyler Mays. They've all played, a couple of them more 2 years ago than last year, but those guys have played and making the transition with Preston Zachman to the safety group as well. So I think we have great depth in that group. Once again, there's 6 guys who've already been on the field, which is going to be a lot of fun this spring to mix and match. And my big thing going in the spring with all position groups is to get them out of their comfort zone, right? Whether that's scheme, whether that's technique, awareness, pre-snap, post-snap, communication. If we let guys be comfortable, we're not doing our job in the spring. So we're continuing to push them. Not that we're always doing new things, but asking them to become more consistent and more dynamic in their job.
That's everybody now. Jake?
Hey, Jim, when it comes to on the defensive line again with like Bryson Williams, who we saw on the spring roster, he dropped down. It looks like his weight's at 280 now compared to I think he was listed at 296 last year. What have you seen from him and his progression back from that injury a couple years back, and do you feel like him and Keanu have some position flexibility within that line?
Yeah, we're always trying to push those guys that you would say traditionally are our nose tackles, right, and push to grow. I think we played almost 70% nickel last year, where there's 2 D linemen, where we're not sitting in that 3-4 structure. So it's always trying to find the best things for that group. And guys develop and they grow and their body changes as they get through college. Bryson has been that guy. You're seeing his body change. Very powerful, very strong kid, and I think he's settling into what his body wants to be. And it's finding the best roles to take advantage of the skill set. And that's our job as coaches, their job as players to find where they fit in. And I'm excited about them. I think Keanu obviously was a difference maker for us the last couple of years. And Bryson was trying to find where he fit a little bit, losing some of those reps. And I think he's doing a great job of that right now and finding out what his niche is with the defense. And the rest of that group, it's the same. We're trying to expand the roles that they have, put them in best position to win, rather than just saying this is your job and we're going to play around you, which I think we do that very well at all of our positions, and that's a big focus right now.
Jim, you mentioned Hank having a little more time to be more detailed with the corners. Have you found areas that you've been able to get into more detail with your safeties now that that group's been split up?
Yeah, a lot of different areas. It's such a different position from a communication and awareness. Safeties are generally leading the communication with multiple levels of the defense, right? It might be a D lineman, might be an outside backer, inside backer. There's a lot of nuance, right? You're talking disguise and what you're presenting a quarterback, and a lot of different coaching points that don't always apply to the corners. In some cases they do, in some cases they don't. And then you have to snap into all the technical work, right? Whereas corner, so much of it is technique, alignment, assignment, football. There's aspects where it's great to have them all in the room and hear how it all ties in together, whether it's the front, the coverage, the pressures. And then there's times where, there's better ways to get it done. So I think both groups are going to benefit with the attention, right? The focus, having another set of eyes on the pass game and receivers, from day one, right? You talk about Sunday as far as breaking down a team, just more resources that way. I think in every way, it's going to help this DB group with the structure that we have. And so far it's been great. Coach Poteet's been able to kind of come in and really just hammer the technique, and I'll own the scheme and the installs and different things like that. And as it progresses, we can split that group more and figure out what's best for them. But I love the addition that we've made, and I think he's a great coach and he's really connecting with these players.
Ben?
Jim, you mentioned Toller and Blaylock. I'm curious, is there a position you like them at more, a safety position you like them more than the other? And what do you like about their skill set and what they add to the group?
Both of them, I would say from a physical standpoint, very impressive. Can move, right? Explosive, twitchy guys. Obviously, we brought Trey in initially as a corner. We thought had position flexibility. So from a movement and speed standpoint, we know what he can do. Titus has worked at nickel for us as well. So we feel like he has some coverage, some corner ability. To me, it's flexibility. I love having flexibility, right? You look a couple years ago with like a Natrell Jamerson, who really was more a corner by trade with, kind of freakish physical traits, too good to not have a huge role. And these guys are, I'm not going to say they're jam at this point, but from a physical standpoint, they can do things a little bit differently than some guys that are just true safeties. So I'm excited to battle them. Their big thing is reps and experience and just getting on the field. So spring is going to be huge. Both of them progressed as the season went on last year. So I'm excited to see them challenge, right? And once again, having guys behind them that have also played, or I didn't even say behind them, there's no depth right now, but having John Torchio and Tyler Mays who've played on defense, right? Go put Michigan on 2 years ago, and you see them all over the tape. So they've played in big moments and they've played well. So I'm excited for the competition, right? We know what Scott and Colin have done on Saturdays, and the rest of that group has limited experience on the field, but have played well. And now it's seeing who can take all this coaching this spring and continue to develop into to playmakers.
Zach?
Yeah, Jim, after Rashad went down last year, Fayon played a ton in the slot and the nickel. Is he still your guy there? And are there some other guys that maybe you're looking at to potentially play more inside this year?
Yeah, I think he's the guy to beat out. He did a tremendous job. I don't think he got near enough credit as that season went on, what he was able to do in the slot for us. The plan last year was to get him in there a lot more. He ended up getting hurt in fall camp. So he didn't necessarily get a ton of experience, but as he worked back into the fold with Rashad being healthy, the plan all year was to move him all over the place, matchup wise, where we wanted him, whether it was inside or outside. Well, with that, other guys are going to have to move. And Fayon was going to be the guy that was going to play inside, play outside, depending on the matchups we liked. And once Rashad went down and he really got comfortable in that nickel role, it suits his skill set really well. And the type of receivers that we're covering in there did a great job. We have a number of guys that I think can push for that position as well to hopefully provide that flexibility again. Alex Smith has played nickel before. Dean Ingram's worked a lot in the slot, and already mentioned Titus Toller. So right now I would say there's kind of 4 guys that are going to be splitting those reps among others that hopefully will emerge this spring to once again help provide flexibility within this defense, right? Do we want it to be more of a safety body or a nickel or a corner body? Kind of what different things can we get into based on who's on the field for us.
Time for a couple quick ones here. Colton?
Jim, you mentioned loving the players and loving the group that you have. What did it mean to you to see some of their reactions to you staying when you made that announcement a couple months ago?
I try to earn respect with that group, and hopefully they trust me and understand what I help them with, right? They all have goals of reaching the highest level here at Wisconsin and farther. So it's honored to feel that they think I'm the right guy to do that. I'm excited about them. These are kids we all recruited here, and because of who they are, the character they show on top of their football abilities. So anytime you earn their respect as a coach, you're doing something right, and having some confirmation with their reactions to that, makes you feel good. And now I have more work to do to help continue to push this group.
Wrap things up with one more from Jeff.
Yeah, Jim, you mentioned the term unfinished business early on when you were asked about your decision to stay. Can you expand on that? Because it sounds like you must have a vision for what you think this program is still capable of achieving.
I think all coaches, the players, the staff, we have the highest goals here, right? I came here wanting to win a national championship, right? I came here wanting to win the Big Ten, and as a player, right? Nothing's changed as a coach, right? We haven't done that since I've been back. So the goals haven't changed, right? I feel like we have a group that can accomplish that. Things have to go well. We have to play good football, much better football than we played last year. And that's the challenge every day, whether it's spring ball, winter conditioning, or transitioning into the season much later this fall. That is the goal, right? There's no ulterior motive. These players, we ask them to push themselves individually, and push the team, become leaders and help develop on and off the field. So that's my job as a coach. And I feel like the ceiling, we haven't reached the ceiling. We still got a long ways to go, and I want to challenge to make that happen.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks, everybody.